Okay, first tell me about your daughter and her illness.
Yeah, so my daughter's name is Dallas Willow Duval, and she is 5 years old. She is so sweet and so happy, and she has this ultra rare disease called alternating hemiplegia of childhood. It's caused by a rare genetic link in the ATP1A3 gene, and it causes all kinds of neurological manifestations. They call them episodes, and those episodes usually have like epileptic seizures, dystonia, which is complex, like intense muscle spasms, and then paralysis. So different parts of the body will become paralyzed and unable to move. And so
When you say ultra rare, what does ultra rare mean?
So it means that there are going to be less than a thousand cases of it worldwide. So the chances of having this disease are called 1 in a million. And so for a lot of our kids, they call them the 1 in a million ticking time bombs, because at any point they could have an episode that could completely take away all of their skills. So they may lose the ability to walk, talk, swallow, eat, function. And sometimes the kids may have a catastrophic episode that can take their life.
Dallas, and the case for most children, is it diagnosed at birth, in utero? What is the case most of the time when a child is diagnosed?
So it's usually diagnosed before 18 months is kind of the diagnostic criteria. For Dallas, her diagnosis came later because it took us longer to get the funding for the genetic testing done. But we had a diagnosis around the age of 2, and then by the age of 3, we had the genetic confirmation of the ATP1A3 gene. So usually very early on.
But it's a very specific test that has to be done to confirm that
Yes,
a person has it.
yes. It's called whole exome sequencing. It's when they take all of your DNA, they spread it all out, and then they find if there's anything that's different. And so for these kids, they have some kind of change in the ATP1A3 gene that causes the disease.
No cure.
No cure. No cure at all. Nope. It's genetic. So the only way that they can cure it is by like genetic sequencing, like a genetic cure essentially. And so there's many AHC organizations that are working on that cure, but it's going to take millions of dollars, many scientists, and a lot of time. So there are things we can do to help the children. We give them rescue medications similar to an epileptic seizure. So we can give them clonazepam, things like that, to stop the seizure or stop the dystonia. But the episodes themselves, there's no way to stop them until there's a genetic cure.
Parents of children who have a wide range of illnesses, I think it's pretty common these days to have quote unquote groups, support groups, Facebook groups, that kind of thing. You were telling me there's a group that is kind of the group for this particular affliction. Is that right?
Yes, definitely. And it's like our lifeline. So when we found out that she had AHC, I was actually already talking to the people in the group. And it was kind of my worst nightmare because I knew about the disease. I had seen a documentary made about the disease, but they are our greatest help. It's a Facebook group. It's just a support group. It takes a lot to get into the group. You have to prove that you have the genetic diagnosis and that you have doctors have given you this diagnosis. But once you're in there, you have access to at least 500 families worldwide that can tell you what it's like to have this syndrome, how you can manage it, avoid triggers, medications that could help, good doctors to see, all those types of things. So it's a very, very tight-knit community because there's so few of us in the world.
So this group is how you found about this little girl in Gaza right now.
Yes, yeah. Her father posted about a month ago saying that she had been in a paralytic state from an episode for about 6 months. And that just in and of itself caught my eye because I know my daughter's longest episode has been 10 days long and it was brutal. She lost like 10% of her body weight. It was terrible. And at that time, we had no way to feed her. Now she has a G-tube, but this little girl had been in that kind of state where she can't move her body, can't talk, can't chew, can't walk, can't sit, can't play for 6 months. And so I was like, what is going on? So I went and kind of talked to the father more, looked at his profile and realized that they were in Gaza. And when I realized that, I was like, okay, there's no one to help them because I knew the state of the war over there. So I reached out via Messenger. And at first he thought I was a doctor. And I was like, I'm not a doctor. I'm just a mom. mom, but I would like to help. And so as I got to know him and saw videos of Julia and pictures of what she was going through, my heart was just broken, and I knew that I had to do something. And so at that point, I reached out to the different AHC foundations and got in contact with Simon Frost of Cure AHC and Hope for Annabelle. And he has been helping to orchestrate what we're trying to put together is a way to evacuate Julia from Gaza and get her to the proper medical treatment. So that's how we discovered Julia.
This is a Palestinian family, I assume?
Yes, yes. They're Palestinian. They previously lived in Gaza City, and then 2 months into the war, they were forced to flee to Rafah. So now they're living in a tent in the main area of Rafah as their home was bombed, and they have nothing left.
His purpose of originally posting on the group was seeking
Just help. Yeah, he was like, what do we do? You know, she's been like this for so long. What can we do? And so I was like, have you tried a rescue medication? Have you tried oxygen therapy? These are different things that we will generally try for kids when they're in a really catastrophic episode. And then he was saying, like, we don't have medicine. We don't have doctors. There are no hospitals. I guess she was previously hospitalized at the beginning of the war for about 2 months in a coma-like state, and they were never able to improve her at all. And so at that point, the Palestinian doctors recommended that she be taken out of the country. The problem with that is it's not as simple as just leaving the country. The borders are closed, as we know, but also the line to get out of people who are sick and wounded is like 100,000 long. And so there's no way that she can jump into the front of that line, even though she's so ill. And in the past week, she is completely out of medications. So her state has drastically declined.
Why is he? I mean, yeah. You don't have to do this, obviously. Why? I can tell from the way you're talking about it that you are passionate about it and you're putting a lot of effort into it, a lot of time, probably losing some sleep.
Yeah.
You're in Overland Park.
Yeah.
Why do you feel the need to do this?
I just saw the videos of her and she reminds me of my child. I just think if my child was in that situation, I would want help. I would be reaching out to this group, and I see like just similarities in the way that our daughters look. They both have curly hair. They both have these like cherub-like cheeks. They both love chocolate and cookies. And they love swimming. I just look at her. She's 3.5. My daughter's 5. I'm like, that could be my girl, you know? And so I just feel like I have to help if I can. Because really without the AHC community rallying around and support and trying to help her, I don't know that there's any way that they will get out. The family has no money. They have nothing left. Their house is gone. There's no medications. There's no doctors. There's just nothing. And so I just feel like, if not me, then who's going to do it, you know? So, yeah.
I looked at the GoFundMe goal of $80,000+, right? To do what?
So I think it's $50,000, but maybe if it's translated into euros, it may be different. Yeah. So the first expense and all that money is being funneled through Cure AHC, which is one of the foundations. So we can verify it's not going straight to the Middle East or anything like that. And they're going to be able to wire it where it needs to go. And so the first thing is just getting the family out of Gaza. The best way that you can get them out quickly is there's a group called Hala. It's a company in Egypt, and you have to pay to expedite that evacuation. It's usually from $5,000 to $10,000 per adult and from $2,000 to $5,000 per child. So to start with, we have to get that money to just get them out. Then once they're out, we're going to have to help them to be probably medevac flighted and get them to another place. And then from there, they're going to have to be flown again to Germany. And in Germany, there's been a fully prepped expert AHC physician who knows about Julia, has seen her charts, and is ready to treat her. So everything's in place. It's just that big piece of getting her out. And then there'll be the costs of, you know, the medical bills, the treatments, the hospital time, and not to mention the family has nothing to go back to. So wherever they end up and wherever, you know, things land, we're going to have to make sure that they have some kind of life, some kind of way to live.
What will it mean to you if you're able to be part of a effort group, however you want to call it, that is successful here and gets her out, and her dad posts video of her out of this episode? What will that mean?
It would mean everything, truly. This has been one of the most rare and memorable and just one of the honors of my life to be a part of this. Of course, we don't know how it's going to end, and I worry about them. And there was one day we lost communication and I cried all day because I was afraid that they were gone. My hope truly would be for our daughters to be able to meet. Like, that's my dream someday, is that Julia's back up on her feet, feeling well, nourished, happy, and thriving as much as you can with this disease, and that our daughters could play together and we could finally meet the family that we've been so closely tied to for the past month.